You are listening to the 2 and Out CFL podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
We know that players always tell the truth, Ty, in regards to their
100%.
health and how they're feeling. So I'm going to take his word for it.
I think it'd be foolish not to. No tests needed.
Grab some poutine and a double-double. It's time for the 2 and Out CFL podcast.
Now they have to kick it out, and they do!
Every week, Travis Currah.
Does anybody still care about this podcast?
And Brazilian Ty.
Hunters are people, too.
Talk fantasy football, bring you the latest in CFL news, and sprinkle in a little bit of nonsense.
Are you kidding? This is unbelievable!
Ready, set, hunt!
And we are a part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. I'm Travis Currah. Brazilian Ty is here. And Ty, I just wanted to follow up on the greatest Canadian shows of all time, because we were getting some messages here, and some, definitely are worth being mentioned. Curtis saying that he's disappointed that Red Green wasn't mentioned on the Mount Rushmore of Canadian TV, and Curtis is right. Red Green definitely is.
Especially considering you bought your dad's suspenders.
Yes, actual Red Green suspenders. We saw him live.
Yeah.
Red Green is a Canadian treasure and a legend.
Yeah, there's no argument here. I don't know how we forgot him.
If the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy.
Isn't that the truth?
I think I've said this before. I'm dangerously close to neither. I got a message from Cappy on Twitter saying it's got to be north of 60 in the Beachcombers. Come on, man.
Wow. Was that my grandpa tweeting that? Because I've never watched either one of those shows because they are old.
I was going to
AF.
say, our suggestions clearly
recency bias.
Were from a certain generation. There's no denying that one. Blair sending a message in. Yep, Mr. D, the Trailer Park Boys, Corner Gas, Degrassi, Kids in the Hall. I'd like to add a suggestion with the Canadian version of Border Security Count, because I love that show.
Would I lie to you? So good.
Man, there have been days when I just sat down on the couch, saw Border Security was on, and never
watched
left.
it for 8 hours. It's our generation's weather network.
Man, I'm pretty sure. I hate when I turn it on. I'm like, damn it. I've seen this episode like 6 times.
Yeah, but you still watch it.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Hosted by Todd Hirsch, ATB Financial's Vice President and Chief Economist, the Future of podcast has launched its 3rd season by connecting with industry leaders to uncover what's on the horizon for things that mean the most to you. The Future of podcast promises to give you insights to help navigate what is often an uncertain future. Explore how our economy and communities can not only brace for change, but embrace the opportunity it creates. Subscribe to The Future Of in the Apple Store, Google Play, Spotify, and everywhere podcasts are found. And connect with us at atb.com/thefutureof.
In the Huddle with Currah and Ty on the 2 and Out podcast.
All right, we got to put this in the news because the Calgary Stampeders are on bye this week. Reggie Begelton has returned to the Stampeders, and I know we're after the trade deadline, Ty, but in the last couple weeks, the Stamps have added Trey Roberson. They've now added Reggie Begelton. Spent a couple seasons, a little bit in the NFL, but he's back. He's still only 28 years old, and in 2019, 102 catches, 1,444 yards, 10 touchdowns. This guy can be a game changer in any offense he plays in.
And, I mean, this is probably going to take some looks away from, the fourth, fifth, sixth guys on the depth chart for Calgary, but it's kind of become an arms race in the West with Saskatchewan getting Duke and Shaq back, Winnipeg basically running away with it, BC getting Lucky Whitehead back after a couple weeks with his injury, but Calgary wants a home playoff game. They want to make sure that they've got the best chance possible because home field does matter, especially in the playoffs. And this just adds to it a team that, a receiving core that has been pretty steady considering the injuries and the changes at quarterback that they've had. And this is a huge pickup. And like I said, it's an arms race in the West Division right now, and they need to keep up.
Bagleton, he said he hasn't closed the door on a return to the National Football League, but this contract only runs through the rest of this year. If he doesn't, get some workouts down south after the Grey Cup, he is going to be, I think, one of the most sought-after free agents this offseason, unless, of course, Calgary gets that extension in sooner. I actually think that he might be one of the most highest paid guys going into 2022. He's got that opportunity, I think.
Yeah, and hopefully Ottawa is paying attention.
No, Calgary might be able to get a little bit of the, come on, you've played with us before, we got Bo Mitchell thrown to you, maybe we'll get a little bit of a discount there. I think Ottawa's going to have to start overpaying, no?
Oh, yeah. They're going to be the Oilers in the 90s.
Let's talk about the games happening this week.
Join 2 and Out for CFL Fantasy and CFL Pick'em and show Currah and Ty what you got.
They are who we thought they were.
Just click cflfantasy.tsn.ca.
Enough of talking about it. There has to be consequences.
And pick'em.cfl.ca.
All right, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, 6.5-point favorites against the BC Lions here. The over-under set at 43.5. And this week, the Hamilton Tiger Cats can clinch a playoff spot with a win. So can the Montreal Alouettes. The Owls in a little bit tougher in Week 14, I will admit. Mm-hmm. But I gotta wonder. The recipe to success that the Ticats had last week against Edmonton, they ran the ball. Don Jackson had 16 carries, but Jeremiah Masoli had a lot of success as well. He was named a Performer of the Week, 357 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and that was only in 24 pass attempts, which is crazy. He was able to produce in not very many attempts. BC's got a lot to limit here.
Yeah, and, their offense, as of late, hasn't been able to put up a lot of points. I think that's been fairly evident. But if Hamilton's going to hand the ball off to Don Jackson 16 times again, and Masoli is going to be able to scramble with his legs, make the throws he needs to make. They still have a pretty decent receiving core. It just feels like a boat race. I just think the Lions are done.
Here are Jeremiah Masoli's stats from the last few games. Toronto in Week 10, 24 of 33, 361 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Week 12 against Ottawa, 25 of 28, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Week 13 against Edmonton, 17 of 24, 357, 3 TDs, no interceptions. He is playing some really good football right now. BC is in tough to limit Masoli, especially at Tim Hortons Field. And it just seems like Ticats, they're getting healthy. Some vets are getting into the lineup. And I know Braylon Addison came in and then he left. But some of the young receivers from earlier in the season and even late in 2019, Tim White has really become a great member of that receiving core. Yeah. Stephen Dunbar came on this season. He's producing. He's become a reliable target for Jeremiah Masoli. And the offensive line seems to be starting to perform a little bit better, coming together a little bit. I know they lost some key pieces from 2019, but again, if they're going to run the ball 16 times, and maybe a lot of that
does nothing but help your O-line.
Exactly. Maybe a lot of that had to do with the way the passing game was going and the lead they had against Edmonton. But even before they really took the lead, Don Jackson was running angry. And he was making it happen in that game. As for BC, I just want to mention this. It's happening November 10th. The new owner of the BC Lions is doing an AMA on the CFL subreddit, and I just feel like this guy gets it. He is wanting to build.
I get why, but why?
Why not? Why are you a hater?
It's just because I know that, there's going to be the fans that are going to ask just questions that are like, it's dumb. Like they're going to bitch about everything and anything.
Oh, so it's not.
I like the idea. I totally like the idea of being transparent and getting the fans involved, but like, man, you're opening yourself up to a lot of crap.
Well,
am I wrong? I guess it's not Rider fans, so, but
I thought you were taking down Reddit, but no, you're taking down.
No,
like I've heard this said before. The worst part about democracy is that everyone has a vote,
unless you're a convicted felon.
So the worst part about an Ask Me Anything is that everybody gets a question.
Yeah, except Rick Westhead. He won't be invited.
Amar Doman, the new owner of the Lions, I just feel like this guy gets it, and the fact that they've been able to make this happen is big. He wants to rebuild that Lions brand in Vancouver, and I know it's been a tough stretch of football, but I think he wants to put in the work, and he knows what's ahead of him, and he's doing little things to make it happen.
Well, and even like he said, it's not an overnight thing, right?
Yeah,
he knows that it's the long game, and this is I mean, it's a great idea. I'm afraid of what's going to come from it, from the fan side.
I'm sure they'll screen it. It'll be fine.
They're going to have to.
Last week, the BC Lions, it was the kicking game that cost them the match against Toronto. Jimmy Camacho missing 3 kicks. So now they've brought in an American kicker. Nick Vogel is undergoing quarantine right now and hopes to get onto the field with them. I guess he was released just prior to training camp with the Baltimore Ravens. So if I know anything about Ty, that makes this guy
that makes him a terrible person.
Hey, he got cut by them. Maybe that makes him good.
Still got paid by him at some point.
The BC Lions 4-7 on the season. It's kind of fallen apart. It was just a few weeks ago when it looked like they were going to compete and maybe they were going to be able to push for a playoff spot, a home playoff spot. And it seemed like the turning point in the season was that Lucky Whitehead injury. And I believe that was against Winnipeg. And when that happened, it just seemed like all the fire they had, and they got crushed a few weeks ago. Now, last week's outing in Toronto was definitely better, but Hamilton wants this win. They need this win because first place is actually still in reach in the Eastern Division for the Ticats. So it's going to be tough sledding for the Lions going into that place.
Yeah, I mean, the defensive line for Hamilton is playing unbelievable right now. And that does not bode well for a team that refuses to run the football. So, like, the wins are they should have won last week. They had ample opportunity, including Ryan Dinwiddie basically handing them the game at the end. Still couldn't get it done. It just like you said, the wins are out of their sails. They definitely played better, but I mean, I don't know if it was Toronto not playing well either. But I don't have a lot of faith in this team right now. Like, there's nothing showing me that they're gonna turn this around. And I know that it's really late in the year, and they need to if they want to make the playoffs. But I just don't see it happening. I just don't have a lot of faith, and it's just Mike Riley's not 100%. The O-line has been better. It's not great. It also doesn't help when you don't run the football, so the defense just pins its ears back and goes after your quarterback. You're not giving him any, it doesn't make any sense.
Tough little stretch for the Lions. They were on the road in Winnipeg, on the road in Toronto, and now on the road in Hamilton. I'm not really sure I'm a fan of having any Lions in my fantasy lineup. No. Although Michael Riley, he always finds a way to, most weeks, make things happen with points. And at least one or two of his receivers. You never know what Brian Burnham can do. That's a guy that I'll never count out. He's always making the circus catch, and he's always out there to compete. But Hamilton's secondary and defensive line, they team up to make it pretty tough to do anything against them. The Edmonton Elks, 6-point underdogs as Saskatchewan Roughriders are in town for Friday night football. The over-under set at 46. I know it's always said that, Saskatchewan and Edmonton games, Saskatchewan and Calgary games, you might be able to have, 50-50. And I don't think it's quite 50-50 in the stands. But this one, there's a legitimate chance that Rider fans outnumber Elks fans. That it's going to be 80-20. Yes, like that bad. There is actually a chance of that because last week in Edmonton, when Hamilton was in town, attendance was not pretty.
It hasn't been pretty for a while.
Right. But at the beginning of the year, they were drawing over 30,000 people. People were excited to get back to the stadium, excited to watch football. It's not just the on-field performance. It's everything that has gone on.
People are talking with their pocketbooks now.
Well, yeah.
And they're tired of it. They're tired of it. And I can't say I blame them. And you see on Twitter, people saying, well, if you want the league and the team to survive, you have to be willing to put them, this is just hurting the team. It's that's what these people want to happen because the team hasn't lived up to expectations on or off the field. That's the only way you can show them. That's the only bartering chip you have, or bargaining chip you have, is to not go and not pay the money.
This is
I don't know what else fans are supposed to do.
Critical offseason for the team. I don't know what they're going to do going into 2022 because I know in the CFL it's very tempting and, well, you got to do it. Rebuild an organization very, very fast, and we see it happening every single offseason, one-year deals, all sorts of things. So 2022, it's probably going to have a lot of growing pains for that organization as well. Because even if you sign all these new guys, and maybe that's not even the best way to do it, signing signing veteran players that cost a lot of money. So it's pretty tough to build a team that way and have them come together on week one. So it depends who they bring in. Well, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they go into next year with the same front office as they have this year. If they go into 2022 with the same front office, they're not going to have fans showing up.
That bodes well for ticket sales, yeah.
Yeah, and if they go into next season with a different front office, it's going to be rebuilding from the ground up. And
I think people will know that, but they'll have faith in have a little more faith in the franchise itself.
Right. They did end up signing Nick Arbuckle to the 1-year deal, and that is pretty crucial for the franchise.
The third becomes a second.
This makes me wonder what the heck happened in Ottawa. Like, Ottawa had a long time to sign Arbuckle.
2 words, and he is now fired, and that would be Marcel Desjardins. There's no reason that he couldn't have got this deal done unless he's being an idiot.
He's going to make $340,000 in 2022. It's a slight raise from what he was making this year. So the Elks have their guy for 2022. That also means that Toronto's going to receive Edmonton's second-round draft pick in 2022. So Toronto... That's almost a first-round pick. I'm guessing that Edmonton's going to draft pretty high.
What are you trying to say?
So Toronto's going to still have an opportunity to get a pretty solid and talented Canadian player at that point in the draft. It could be 10th, 11th overall in that range.
And so are the Elks at $340,000 for Nick Arbuckle. That leaves them a lot of cap space. It's not the Mike Riley deal where he eats up almost a quarter of your cap.
Well, and I think that's why Arbuckle's only signing the 1-year deal. He wants the shot to go perform next year, and if he has a 4,500-yard season or whatever, he gets a pretty solid range in the $500,000 range.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, all those 1-year deals and teams having to rebuild every other year or every year, it seems, kind of thing. But let's be honest, the teams brought that on themselves by signing guys to long-term deals and then just cutting them when it becomes convenient. So, that's the player's recourse to that. I mean, I don't know what else you do if you're a player when nothing's guaranteed. Except for bonuses, but they cut you before the bonus comes up.
Pretty much every deal signed in football is a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
As long as we remember that, we'll be fine.
Get your money in the signing bonus.
Yeah. As of Saskatchewan here, hey, they want that home playoff game. They gotta win this one. And they're facing some injury issues now. Tuesday was a tough day at the office for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Kyron Moore did not practice. He left the game against Montreal with a knee issue. Looks like Ricardo Lewis was working in his spot. AC Leonard had to leave practice early. He had a big game against Montreal. The big sack, 8 tackles. He was looking great. Duke Williams had to leave the tunnel or leave the field with the trainer. Dan Clark, the veteran on the offensive line, had to leave. Although Craig Dickinson did say, this guy was in a car crash and didn't miss a game in 2019. I'm sure he'll be fine.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot.
With an ankle.
It's going to take a lot to keep him out of the lineup.
Yeah, those offensive linemen, they're pretty much injured from week 2 on.
They're in a car crash every week as it is on the field.
Yeah, every play.
Yeah.
So
it's not something that I envy.
That being said, as far as the Riders, facing injury issues, the Elks are as well. James Wilder Jr. has not practiced this week. He was the centerpiece of that offense for all of this season. Hurt the ankle, and at this point...
Probably the only bright spot, really.
Yeah, at this point, why not just see what Walter Fletcher can do the rest of the way? I know you got the 3 games in 7 days. Maybe you will need Wilder to kind of...
Yeah, you got James Tuck.
Maybe just see what Fletcher can do. Darrell Walker has been limited in practice. He really hasn't done much this season, but Greg Ellingson has not practiced this week either. Justin Renfroe on the offensive line hasn't practiced, so there's a lot of veterans not going to be playing or haven't practiced for the Elks this week, so they are dealing with their fair of injury issues as well. They're just going to be doing, I think, training camp 2022 right now. Maybe Ernest Edwards, maybe Tolliver get in there and see what they can do and produce against the Riders. But again, it's one of those things where the Riders have something to play for. And I guess maybe the Elks do too. They're playing for jobs and they're playing for their professional lives going forward.
Yeah, if you're going to be laying eggs in games that don't matter, management and the coaching staff sees that for sure. There's a thing to be said about playing with pride, and if you're not going to do it, they're probably not going to be there next year. And yeah, this just has to become an extended training camp for the Elks. I don't see any other way around it.
Let's go to Toronto. BMO Field, the Argos, 10.5-point favorites over the Ottawa Red Blacks. The over-under is at 45.5. Now, the big thing here is that Toronto, undefeated at home this season. They've just found ways.
They found ways in spite of some people on the sidelines.
Man, even when you're relying on the opposing team to miss gimme kicks, they just make it happen. In fact, Toronto is the only team in the CFL. The only team in the CFL with a winning record. So that includes Toronto, Hamilton, Montreal, Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, Calgary's 500, that have a negative point differential. They've given up 25 more points than they've scored.
They win close, and when they lose, they get boat raced.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what? The last time they played Ottawa, it was a close game at halftime, and then it was the third quarter when Toronto really opened things up and crushed the Red Blacks. They're going to want to see, I think, a complete effort here and not keep Ottawa in this game. Again, they want first place, so they do need to win this game. Over the last few weeks, Toronto's been having their depth tested at offensive line, and it was really evident in the loss against Montreal a couple of weeks ago when Montreal's defensive line was all over Toronto. So they have claimed offensive lineman Jonathan Zamora from the Calgary Stampeders right off of the practice roster. And he was drafted in the third round of the 2020 CFL draft. So clearly he's got some talent. He's got some potential. And the Argos have been starting a rookie at center all season with Peter Nicastro after having some injuries at that position. So, I mean, if you're going to let Calgary develop an offensive lineman for a few years for you, I think he'll be able to fit into your lineup pretty quickly.
If you had to rank teams that you would want to take players off of their practice roster, I think Calgary's at the top. I mean, just the way that franchise has been run the last 10, 15 years, it's a no-brainer. Not a lot of playing time, if any, but if the Stamps see something in him, there's something there.
Yep, and he's from Mississauga, so you're adding another local guy to your roster that you'll be able to keep on your roster for years to come. As for Ottawa, and I think fans got to be happy to see this, they re-signed Devontae Dedmon for a year. He, at times, seemed like maybe the only thing to get excited about as an Ottawa fan. He's only 25 years old, and it looks like he's going to be good to go this weekend, at least according to him. We know that players always tell the truth, Ty, in regards to their
100%.
health and how they're feeling. So I'm going to take his word for it.
I think it'd be foolish not to. No tests needed.
He's returned 41 punts for 637 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he has over 1,000 yards in kickoff returns this season as well. So he's Ottawa's most electric player. They do need to find a way. And next year, I think this should be a project for them to get him involved in the offense, not only on special teams. He's too good just to be on the field for special teams. And he was seen on the sideline the last couple. Right. He was seen on the sideline the last couple of weeks with a walking boot, but he says he's feeling good and he should be able to play. But yeah, get him the ball more, man.
If you can throw him the ball underneath, it kind of turns into a punt return anyway. He can make guys miss, whether it's on a kick or on a catch. So he can make guys miss and kind of help move this offense on the field, which at times has struggled to do that. It's just all the better. I don't know if they make an emphasis of it this year, but I think next year going in, I just don't know how successful teams can be with just guys that are specialized returners that don't play another position.
With the roster size, it's crucial, man.
Yeah, right? When you only have 46 guys, you need to be kind of a Swiss Army knife when it comes to that. And like Frankie Williams did it in Hamilton, and he played corner. Charles Nelson does it in Winnipeg, playing corner. Like this isn't like the NFL where you can afford a roster spot for a guy that does nothing but return kicks.
Ottawa's experiencing some injury issues at the running back position. Brendan Gillanders hurt. DeLance Turner hurt. It does appear that Timothy Flanders is going to get back into the lineup for Ottawa if you're really desperate at running back.
Wow.
Finish that sentence, man. I want to know what you're going to say.
No. I don't want to get canceled.
It does appear that Sean Oakman might be ready to go back on Toronto's defensive line, and I know that Chris Jones is going to be excited to have that defensive lineman back there. But Ottawa's in the same position as Edmonton. It's one of those situations where it's extended training camp for them. A lot of these guys might be their last few weeks playing pro football. It's just the sad reality of the business. A lot of them want to have a job in 2022, so they're going to need to perform. If you do look at the injury report, it appears that Dexter Mccoyle missed practice on Tuesday. And quietly...
Has he come down yet? From that field? Like, how high did he get on that attempted block? That was ridiculous.
It would take me a while to recover from that. He's been pretty underrated this year. He's been all over the place, and I know he got into some penalty issues last week against the Lions, but Dexter Mccoyle's been playing some pretty good football this year. They've had some guys return to practice, though, including linebacker Cam Judge. He was practicing in full on Tuesday, so watch for him to get back into the lineup. And there's a whole schwack of injury issues for Ottawa. The injury report is actually a mile long.
We are into week 14. I mean, I think most teams' injury report could be a mile long, but a lot of guys are just battling through. But Ottawa at this point is like, well, we don't need guys to, or we don't need to be paying for guys to get surgery if things get worse, because we know that teams love to do that.
The Winnipeg Blue Bombers, 12-point favorites against the Montreal Alouettes. The over-under set at 45 here. The Bombers are coming back from the bye. I kind of wonder if the Bombers are going to have double-digit spreads the rest of the way.
I don't think so. Just because, like, they have first wrapped up, they're going to be resting guys.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I don't know how the lines don't get adjusted when depth charts come out and, people aren't playing. I don't think they rest everybody at the same time, though. So, I mean, that probably will help that. But double digits the rest of the way, I mean, with the remaining schedule, yeah, it would make sense. But depends on what they do with their roster.
Winnipeg's got to work some guys back into the roster, including Winston Rose, who has been practicing with the first teamers. He's back from the NFL. Shaq Cooper was practicing at running back. I'm assuming that they probably still want to stay Canadian at that point, but you know what they say about assumptions, so watch out for the depth chart when Winnipeg releases that. And Sergio Castillo, the kicker, been practicing for Winnipeg as well. That has been a position of weakness for the Bombers this year. They don't want it to come down to field goals, and if they do, and if it does happen, they want a reliable option back there, and it really hasn't happened. I think they've gotten spoiled.
I had my headline for when they missed the field goal to lose the West Final. I had it written, or to lose the Grey Cup. I had it ready to go, and now if Castillo comes in, I don't get to use it. Well, you know how they always call like a season wrap-up? You know how they always call a season wrap-up the post-mortem?
Yeah.
I was going to call it a post-mortata. Now I can't.
Well, that's pretty good. Well done.
Every now and then.
Hey, we'll appreciate it right here on Two and Out. So they want to get Sergio in there.
I come up with that, but I got to pay $200 to get a best man speech written.
They got to make sure Sergio can make some kicks because, man, can you imagine it coming down to a kick for the Bombers?
And oh my God.
Over the past little while here, they knew they had Justin Medlock back there, Mr. Automatic. Now that he's gone, not playing football, it's been a revolving door at that position for the Bombers.
Yeah. It hasn't been fun.
Ty, I didn't think this was going to happen this soon, but starting at quarterback for the Montreal Alouettes is Trevor Harris. Matt Schilt's been dealing with some knee issues. He played with it last week. They're giving him the week off, and Trevor Harris, just a few weeks with the Montreal Alouettes, is going to Winnipeg. I'm going to try to make things happen. And I say try to make things happen because his last game in Winnipeg was his last start for the Elks. 9 of 22 for 87 yards.
I shouldn't say I expect much of the same because the receivers he has now are playing way better than the receivers he had in Edmonton.
That's true. He's got a completely different supporting cast.
Yeah. And a team that's going to the playoffs more than likely. A team that is winning football games. It's just a better situation.
The Bombers have an opportunity here to clinch an undefeated season at home. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that because they're going to have one more home game after this
regular season.
Season. They want to clinch an undefeated regular season at home. Trevor Harris is in tough to do it this week. I just don't like his chances.
Nope, not at all.
But he does have William Stanback, and you did mention the receivers he's got there. He's got Eugene Lewis, Jake Winicky, a lot of quality receivers to throw to. Mm-hmm. But a few weeks with the team, and this is the definition of getting thrown to the wolves, I think.
Yeah, this would not be my choice for first start with a new team. This, man, I feel sorry for him.
But isn't this a guy that's also playing for his future? No, I know 100%. He's with a playoff. He's also with a playoff team right now, but this guy has a lot to prove if he wants to be a starting quarterback in 2022.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, does he get another crack at being a starter?
It's a good question.
If he doesn't do any, like, and I know it's kind of, jumping the gun, and it's only been the 1 year, but I mean, it hasn't been good, and the warts are showing. It's like, I think BC's set with Riley and Rourke. Calgary, obviously not. He's not going back to Edmonton. Saskatchewan's good with Fajardo. Somehow Zach Collaros has become an MOP candidate. It blows my mind. Hamilton, he's not going there. Toronto, it looks like Macbeth has, does he go back to Toronto?
Well, I was going to say that.
I'm trying to think of open jobs that might come up this year. Like, I don't see a lot.
Well, Ottawa.
Well, I mean, that's just. But would he go back?
I don't know. And I mean, I could see Toronto pulling a fast one on Macbeth and making him compete with the Trevor Harris next year. Yeah. I could totally see that happening. It would not shock me one little bit.
Macbeth is going to win the Grey Cup and lose his starting job.
Yeah, that would not surprise me out of Toronto. Winnipeg's injury report still has Andrew Harris on the sidelines, as well as Jamarcus Hardrick. So the matchup I want to watch here is because Montreal's defensive line, they were all over Toronto a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. They were all over Saskatchewan last week. Winnipeg's O-line is a different beast. Are they going to be able to perform the same way? That is a matchup I want to watch.
Yeah. And I think they're only losing Hardrick, but still that's a big piece. He's probably been arguably the best O-lineman in the league for the last few years. So it is a big loss, but they still have the majority of their line together. But the way that Montreal's defense in front has gelled, I mean, it's going to be a battle in the trenches. It's going to be really fun to watch.
What's your fantasy lineup looking like this week?
Like the Argos lineup?
Good call.
McLeod, Bethel Thompson, DJ Foster, Ricky Collins Jr., Chandler Worthy, the Argos defense, and I threw in Brady Oliveira and Kean Schaefer-Baker.
Macbeth is like the no-brainer start, which means he's going to get about 9.5
points again.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bo.
So I got Macbeth, DJ Foster, Don Jackson, Tavares Daniels, Shaq Evans, Reggie White Jr. out of Montreal, and
$2,500 special.
Defense. Yeah, you got to have at least one of those guys.
Like how the Argos defense is $1 over the minimum for a defense. Is the price is right? At $32.01, like.
Well, if you look at the last few weeks here, Toronto defense 3 points last week against BC, -1.
Yeah, but they're playing Ottawa.
Well, I'm just saying, -1 against Montreal a couple of weeks ago, 29 points against Ottawa in Week 10.
Like, what are we talking about here?
If they get half of that, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But the next closest game they've had all year is 8 points. So their price actually is not that far off from where it should be.
But you gotta. So they cost an extra $1 playing the worst team in the league.
Oh yeah, we've seen that they do not price with who the opponent is. They only price,
which makes perfect sense.
Yeah, for past performance.
Also, I bet that we see Duck Hodges in that game.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I have $421 left, so you win this week.
Yeah, I got $377 left. I'm up against Rod from the Wood Cookie Sawcast in the Canadian Football Podcast Network Fantasy Challenge. I'm just here trying not to finish last. That is my only goal.
Yep. That's commendable.
I'm looking at the stats this week. Ottawa has given up the most points in the league. They've given up the most touchdowns. Oh, well, yeah, funny how that works.
Yeah, wait a minute.
So the way it's looking for Toronto, it just looks like they should be able to put up a pile of points. They really should be able to do that. I hope they can do it. Edmonton now has given up the most rushing yards a game, which is crazy to me. BC has given up the most passing yards a game. Now, earlier in the season, they were having interceptions. Their secondary was looking pretty good. But it's just that Jeremiah Masoli, and maybe he'll make it worth it with the way he's played the past little while. He's just starting to cost a lot of money. He's over $11,000 for your fantasy lineup. I got to look at the weather in Edmonton because Edmonton's given up 5.6 yards a carry as well. Will Saskatchewan finally give Powell the ball?
No, because it's Jason Moss. But carry on.
Like, I have this theory in my head that they're waiting for it to get cold, and the fact that they have kept Powell fresh all this year, that they'll be able to give him the ball. Edmonton weather, Friday, November 5th, a high of 10 degrees. You can't ask for much better than that, so I don't think they'll be running the football.
I want to know what it is next Friday when Canada plays Costa Rica at Commonwealth and tickets are $22.
Canada plays Costa Rica and Mexico next month, or this month now.
Yeah.
That's got to be advantage Canada, no?
Yeah, 100%.
Costa Rica and Mexico are looking at those games. Where are we going?
Yeah, we're good. We'll just take the L.
Yeah. I think Pick'em on the surface looks pretty obvious this week. Hamilton, Saskatchewan, Toronto, and Winnipeg. But
so somebody's going to screw us.
Yeah. Which one is it?
Or
that is
or
the
I
question.
go on an 8-game winning streak.
2 4-0 weeks in a row. Finally.
It could be. Hey, anything's possible. I mean, the Braves won their first World Series since 1995.
Look at that.
And we have a hockey team.
The big announcement that Ty had on Twitter, you know that every person has been DMing me wondering if we're doing 2 and Out live. That is not the announcement.
Yeah.
What is the announcement?
I'm going to use the 2 and Out logo. I cleared this with Travis. I guess we could say we. We are sponsoring my old rec hockey league team because they need new jerseys. And no, they are not the Devils. But, yeah, that's a deep cut. The jerseys they have are the jerseys that I played in, and they are falling apart because our team manager actually washes them. So
when's the last time you've been on skates?
Last December-ish, we went skating at the speed skating oval.
Not as crazy.
Last time I played hockey was 2016.
So 2 and Out is helping out a rec hockey league team in Lloydminster.
Yeah,
am I right?
Yes. Yep. The Wolfpack, and so give them a little. We're going to sponsor some money to get new jerseys. They're going to put a patch on. We'll send them pictures to use. So I'm sure guys will be getting chirped relentlessly on the ice.
Now, do I get to trade guys and cut guys?
Well, you could probably start with the goalie.
I think I should get free tickets, free popcorn at the concession.
Yeah, you can get all the free tickets you want. If you want to go to a men's rec league game at 9:30 at night on a Wednesday, I'll let you in the door for free.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Anytime.
Oh, man. Got to give a shout out to the Well Endowed podcast produced by the Edmonton Community Foundation. It's hosted by Andrew Paul and Elizabeth Bondkink, produced by Lisa Pruden. It explores the impact of passionate people who are working to make Edmonton a strong, vibrant city to live in. The Edmonton Community Foundation helps people create endowment funds, and the podcast tells the story of how these endowments intersect with community. Man, they're just doing some great work, the Edmonton Community Foundation. So if you go to the wellendowedpodcast.com, you can see all of the different organizations that have benefited from the Edmonton Community Foundation. Most recently, they talk about the Low-Resourced Seniors Collective, helping seniors navigate a myriad of services to meet their daily needs. So you can listen and learn all about that at the wellendowedpodcast.com. And that's exactly where you need to go to subscribe to the show. Week 14 is upon us in the CFL season. You can rate, review, and subscribe to 2 and Out on your favorite podcatcher. Stay warm. Cold football is on the way. We'll talk to you Monday.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.